This is the first of 4 CueBalance tutorial videos. This video shows how to modify the new Cue settings as a first step to begin customizing the program. For a detailed description of the various features of CueBalance, refer to the Windows help file included with the program. Each time CueBalance is run, it loads the new Cue settings from a saved file. These settings can be changed and saved so that they more closely match each user's specific cues. Let's start with the shaft data at the top left corner of the main screen. The default weight is 3.9 ounces. Perhaps your shafts have a fairly long taper, and so the average weight of your shafts at final size is closer to 3.8 ounces. To change that, click the down arrow until the value reads 3.8. Note that changes to data will be immediately reflected in the calculated Cue specifications. The next value is the length. Assuming your hypothetical Cue is 58 inches long, I will leave this value set at 29 inches. Given a longer taper, we need to change the balance point. So I will use the mouse to highlight the entered value and type 11.8 and then hit return. Values can be changed by typing in the text box or by clicking the up and down arrows. Next, we need to define the size and taper of the Cue butt. Assuming a single taper, we will keep the Allow Multiple Tapers unchecked, but we need to change the joint and butt diameters for our hypothetical Cue. These diameters are final size after a finish is applied. We will set the joint diameter to 0.840 and the butt diameter to 1.26. The default joint pin entered is a 3/8 10 pin. We are going to change that to a 5/16 joint pin. But we are going to use a list feature to do this by clicking on the L button at the bottom right. When we click on this button, a pop-up list appears. This is a customizable list of 6 possible joint pins. Each one can be changed to match a pin you are likely to use in your cues. Once changes to the list are made, the list can be saved as the default list. We will make the first unknown pin in the list our 5/16 pin with a weight of 1.02, a bore length of 2 inches, and an overall length of 3 inches, and a diameter of 0.312. Also, we can update the description for future reference. Now that we have entered a new pin, we can hit the Save button on the screen. Now, we will hit the C button to copy the data for this pin to the input fields. Joint collars are one of the components that must be machined to final size in order to get an accurate weight. The default value is 0.27. By bringing up the joint collar list, we see this is an estimate for a 1-inch Juma joint collar. We will leave this alone. The butt cap is another component that must be machined to final size when measuring. For this component, we will change the length to 1.25 to simulate an old school Delrin cap. We won't bother changing the weight, but it would need to be changed to match a finished machined and shaped butt cap for reference. The rear cavity group box contains a depth and diameter for both a bore and a counter bore. For this Cue, we will assume a 3/8 threaded stem bumper is used with a 0.10 inch recess. So we will change the diameter of the primary bore to 0.375, the counter bore depth to 0.10, so the bumper can be slightly recessed, and the diameter of the counter bore to 0.998 for a barely snug fit for a 1-inch bumper. By clicking on the bumper list, we see the weight value of 0.26 matches the Atlas threaded bumper we already mentioned, so there is no need to change the bumper weight. The butt construction group box has 2 drop-downs. The construction type drop-down includes 3 options: a traditional 3-piece butt, a 1-piece butt, or a 1-piece butt with a sleeve. We will leave this setting alone. The full-length core drop-down has 4 choices: no full-length core, full-length core, full-length core with a diameter step, and a full-length tapered core. Again, we will leave this drop-down unchanged. We will explore the other options in some other videos. The forearm section includes information about the forearm, the A-joint, and coring information. The default density of 62.7 is typical of a dense rosewood. We won't bother changing that. We will change the length to 12 inches. Note that the forearm length doesn't include the joint collar length, so this cue will be 13 inches from the joint face to the start of the handle. Also, just to be different, we will uncheck the A-joint into handle. Let's skip the coring drop down and move on to the handle section. For this section, we will change several things. First, the density needs to be tweaked. Let's assume our typical handle is curly or bird's-eyed maple. The average density of hard maple is 44 pounds per cubic foot. Let's assume our typical stock is just a little higher at 46. Next, we need to change the length to 11.25 to bring the length of the cue to 58 inches. We will assume the A-joint tenon diameter and length are good and move to the coring section. The core density is a little low. Let's assume something like Purple Heart is used as the handle core, which is somewhere around 55 pounds per cubic foot. Also, let's assume the handle core has a step in the diameter. Maybe the bottom 4 inches of the handle is bored to 13/16. If we click the drop down, we see cord with step is one of the options. When we select this option, the link to the step in diameter opens, and the diameter at the rear of the core opens. If the length of the handle is 11.25 inches and only the bottom 4 inches of the handle is bored to 13/16, then the length to the step is 7.25 inches because the length to the step is measured from the front of the handle. We will leave the butt sleeve alone. Note that the density of the sleeve and forearm are the same. We need to change a few things with the ring work. The default list includes 4 simple linen rings at the typical ring locations in a cue. We changed the tenon to run from the handle into the forearm, which resulted in a tenon diameter change to 5/8. So we need to highlight the second ring in the list, then change the inside diameter value to 0.625. We also need to change the location. The length of the joint collar is 1 inch, and the length of the forearm is 12 inches for a total of 13 inches. Since the ring is 1/2 inch, the location of the ring from the front of the cue is 12.5 inches since we are including it as part of the forearm.